Hey, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and the finals for the 2025 FIBO Pro just wrapped up. I was going to do a prejudging video also, but it was at like 5 a.m. my time, and I got up, I looked at some pictures. It looked like Andrew Jacked was clearly going to win. There wasn't any video that I saw yet at 5 or 6 a.m. when I got up and looked, and I was like, well, Andrew's winning this, so I'm just going to go back to bed and wait for finals. So this was the first show that we've had in a long time that didn't have any sort of live stream. And looking at the time difference, I mean, that could have played a factor in it. Maybe they figured nobody would be awake, or, you know, a large chunk of the potential audience being in the United States or being in a time zone where they're probably not going to pay for a live stream. Maybe that was it. But luckily, we did get a good amount of photos and videos on Instagram that gave us a good idea of how these guys looked. And for the most part, they had a pretty plain, not black, but blue backdrop. And the lighting was okay. I thought it was a little bit weird in some of the pictures. But for the most part, it seems like we got to see a good amount of the show on social media, even without the live stream. Pictures and videos, the combination of both. We got to see enough. So the results of the show. Andrew Jacked ended up winning. Saz Harati is on a hell of a run right now, taking second, and Sergio Oliva Jr. wound up in third place. So let's talk about Andrew and Sauce first. Saz Harati, between the Detroit Pro and this show, extremely impressive with the conditioning that he brings. If you guys remember back to Detroit where he faced William Bonac, there was a lot of people arguing that Sauce could have or should have won that show just based on conditioning alone. He was peeled to the bone in Detroit, noticeably more conditioned than most other people in that lineup, but the argument was Bonac was more complete, Bonac was more full. Bonac was still in shape. It's not that Bonac was off, but Sauce was just so noticeably peeled compared to everybody else. And I think the really impressive thing now is that Sauce was able to replicate that here for the FIBO show. I think most conditioned guy in this lineup by far wound up in second place ahead of Sergio Oliva Jr. And I even saw comments saying that he was pushing Andrew Jacked, which is a hell of an accomplishment considering Andrew is like one of the big fan favorites. I didn't see like the same conversation, even though I felt like the conditioning difference was more between Andrew and Sauce than it was between William and Sauce. I think that Sauce was noticeably more conditioned, like significantly more conditioned than Andrew Jacked. But of course, you got to look at size. You got to look at the overall package. Andrew Jacked won, not on conditioning, but on probably everything else. So I will say I was a little bit surprised to not see more comments saying Sauce should have won, because it was more 50-50 with Bonac versus Sauce. And I don't think this was the most conditioned version of Andrew Jacked that we've seen. But Andrew Jacked, make no mistake, I certainly think he won this show. I think that was clear as day, looking at prejudging, looking at finals. I mean, obviously, this was a lineup that Andrew Jacked, I would say this is a lineup that typically would not challenge somebody like Andrew Jacked as much as an Olympia or an Arnold, or even the Texas Pro. I mean, we've seen Andrew do Texas Pros that were more competitive than this, qualifying for the Olympia. And I think that's part of why it seemed like such a random show for him to do, and I feel like that's part of why it was big news that he was jumping in this at the last minute, because it just seems so random. It's not something that we typically see Andrew do. But yeah, I thought it was clear as day at prejudging at finals that Andrew won this show. But I do think that if you're a conditioning fan, you were probably looking at Sauce here and you were very impressed. And you were probably leaning towards Sauce. If you're big on conditioning, he's brought it twice in a row now. And you could argue twice in a row he was more conditioned than the winner of the show, but not nearly as much muscle, not nearly as much size. Just Andrew Jacked is like the complete package. But I will say, I'll say like the same thing that I said about Good Vito, is like it was enough to win the South America show. But this package from Andrew Jacked, he looks great in this lineup. But this package from Andrew Jacked, I don't think is going to be enough bringing this again to the Olympia or if he does jump in a show like Pittsburgh, which I think he might, I don't think it would be enough there either. You're still seeing in that lower body, especially from the back, the conditioning is just not quite where it needs to be. It's just kind of got that soft, watery look to it. Upper body is almost just perfect, especially from the front, like front double bicep, front lat spread, most muscular. He almost has a perfect upper body. It's just that lower body still hasn't quite caught up conditioning-wise. Size-wise, it's came up a bit. But again, I think what you're seeing here is also the same thing that you saw with Good Vito. I feel like it was more of a warm-up show, more of a like a safety blanket, a safety net type of show where they can say, okay, I'm going to come in and do this random show, get my Olympia qualification, and then the rest of the year I can just kind of do whatever stress-free. And that seemed to be Good Vito's plan, the South America show being a warm-up for Pittsburgh. And I'm assuming that we're going to see Andrew Jack compete in something else for the rest of the season. I'm assuming maybe he'll still do the Texas Pro, but maybe that's why I feel like both Andrew and Good Vito, I feel like neither of them were at their 100% best. Neither of them were in the best condition, and maybe it's because both of them did kind of just a random, smaller lineup, easier qualification show, maybe before they do something harder where they are going to need to bring better packages. But that was kind of the impression that I got, is that, look, Andrew was the clear winner here. He looked, I think, miles ahead of anybody else, except for conditioning. It's just that I still don't think we are seeing that next level Andrew Jack. Like the thing keeping Andrew from, winning something like the Arnold Classic. And if anything, I actually thought he looked better at the Arnold than he looked here at the FIBO show. Now, let's get to Sergio Oliva Jr. here. I actually thought Sergio looked pretty good. I think, again, from a conditioning standpoint, there's a reason Sauce was second and Sergio was third. I think Sauce was ahead of everybody, including Andrew Jack, and noticeably so. I think he was noticeably more conditioned than Sergio, noticeably more conditioned than Andrew. But when it comes to Sauce versus Sergio, Sergio's a little bit less complete than Andrew Jack. So that conditioning from Sauce, I think, exposes Sergio in a way that it wouldn't with Andrew Jack. But overall, one thing that I really liked about Sergio, the mustache. The mustache was fantastic. He looked just like his dad facially. I thought that was really cool. Size-wise, I think we got what we expected from those updates. This was a big version of Sergio. I saw some people commenting that he looked a little bit flat. I'd say I would kind of agree with that. It just kind of looked like he didn't perfectly hit his peak here. But I thought it was a decent version of Sergio. I can understand why he was outside of the top two. I can see why he didn't win the show. And look, I mean, even had Andrew Jack not been here, he wouldn't have won the show because Sauce was second. So again, I got to take my hat off to Sauce Harati. Doing this twice in a row, very impressive. And if Andrew didn't do this show, Sauce would have pulled off what I would consider to be an upset. He would have beat Sergio here. Now, I did see Sauce say earlier this week that he does 100% plan on qualifying for the Olympia, so I'm assuming that means he will keep competing until he wins a show. And at this rate, it seems like that will be sooner rather than later. But he's certainly been going on a hell of a run. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about Andrew Jack winning? Did you agree with this decision? What do you think about Sergio? What do you think about Sauce? What do you think about these placings? Again, Andrew Jack in first, Sauce Harati in second, and Sergio Oliva Jr. in third were the final results. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel, and consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.